Welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to show you how to make this adorable stuffy unicorn all in the embroidery machine. Stick around and let's begin. If you wish to personalize this design, you have to open Whubefy. And the best place to personalize it would be this belly area right here. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to personalize it by writing down a little girl's name that I'm making this for. Her name is Melly. And because this is cursive font, I need to manually move each letter until I like it how it's placed. So right there. So I'm going to move that E, and I'm going to move this L over just a bit. And then lastly, this Y. Okay. I'm going to take a peek at it now. Okay, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to click it one more time. I'm going to center it because I changed, since I moved it, the size has changed a bit. And now I'm going to use my down arrow buttons to move it where I would like to see it go. Now I'm going to move in a little bit. I might shift it a little bit this way just because of that M. But other than that, that looks pretty good. All right. Okay, so zoom back out. Just want to double check, do I like the placement? I have about an inch right here, which is good. And a little, probably about a fourth or a half an inch right here. All right, once you personalize it, you have to move the personalization after step 12, but before step 13, which is the placement stitch for the ears and the horn. So it has to go in between those two locations. So here's stitch 12, my new stitch 13, and of course everything after that goes down by 1. All right, I really like that. Let's talk fabric real quick. This design does require 4 types of fabric, or I should say 4 different colors. The majority of the fabric is from Joann's Fabric, and this is their So Lush fleece fabric. I absolutely love it for stuffies. For the body of this unicorn, I am going to use pink, and I'm going to use pink for the outer ear as well. For the belly, the face, and the inner ear, I'm going to use this bright white. And then for the hair / mane, I'm going to use this pretty little blue. I also need some fabric for the horn. And normally I would suggest using cotton fabric, but I have no gold or any fun colors in cotton. And so I have some of this stretchy fabric that I've very rarely used. I'm gonna attempt to use it in this one, but it's gold and glitter, so I think it could be fun. So I am also, this is in 2 hoops. The first hoop, I'm using a 5x7 hoop, and I'm using tearaway stabilizer. So I'm going to take this to the machine and run the first stitch, which will be the placement stitch for the horn and the ears. Placement stitches are complete. So now grab one of your pieces of fabric for the horn. Again, I'm using this gold, and place it right side facing up over it, making sure that you have extra fabric down here and making sure that you cover the entire placement stitches. All right, take it back to the machine and run the next stitch. Tack down stitch is complete. Now we're going to focus on the 2 ears. We're going to grab our ears fabric, and we're going to have it right side facing up, and we're just going to place it over the placement stitches, making sure that there is extra fabric down here. And I cut mine a little shorter than I wanted to, but it looks like it will cover, so that's good. All right, so I'm gonna take it to the machine and run the tack down stitch. Oofta, I got really close, but hey, I got it all in, so that's all good. All right, leave your hoop in your machine and change it to the color of thread you want to do these little grooves in the horn. I'm just gonna do gold. All right, it stitched out the little grooves in the horn. And now we are going to grab the second piece for the inner side of the ear, and we're gonna have it wrong side facing up. And, all right, I'm gonna hold it down and stitch it. Grab the second piece of fabric for your horn and flip it over so that the wrong side is facing up, and cover the stitches and take it back to the machine and run the final stitch for this hoop. We now can take the design out of the hoop, and we are going to separate all of the pieces. So we're gonna look at this side, and actually it might just be easier to go like this. So I'm just gonna hold this over and just cut right in between the middle, just like so. And then let's start with the horn first. We are only going to remove the outer layer of the stabilizer first, because we're going to use the stabilizer as a guide to cut around it. There we go. Okay, we want to have extra fabric down here, so I am just going to actually get rid of that piece real quick. There we go. Just cut it around as close as I feel comfortable. I don't need this much fabric down here, so I'm just gonna slice some of it. Okay, all right. And we need to now take off all of the stabilizer. And using this hole at the bottom, we're just gonna flip it inside out. And then I'm gonna find my, just a little rounded tool like this, something that will not ruin the stitches, but will help me push out the edges just like so. And now we are going to work on the ears. And so just like before, we're gonna separate them. Put one to the side for now, and we're just gonna tear off the external stabilizer. We'll leave the internal one alone for now. What I like to do on this step is cut a diagonal on both ends to remind myself, do not cut off this extra fabric. And I'm going to go around the ears as carefully as possible. All right, now let's take off. I'm gonna take off this just like that. Give it one more look to see if I need to do any other trimmings. This fabric is super messy. All right, and I don't need that much extra fabric at the bottom, so I'm just going to give a little trim. It's a little extra, it's a little excess. Okay, I'm going to turn it inside out, just like what I did with my horn. All right, so we have the white stuff is the inner ear, and the pink stuff is the outer ear, just like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing that I did with this one to my other ear, and then I'm gonna put this to the side. All right, so I have all of them prepped. I'm gonna put the two ears to the side right now, and like I said, I think I'm gonna try filling this up a little bit with some of that poly filling, just to give it a little bit of structure. Yeah, that is super cute. I love it. I'm gonna put this to the side as well because I won't need this till closer to the end. And I am ready to begin hoop 2 of this project. And so I have my 8" by 12" hoop right here. And I have tearaway stabilizer in it. And I'm gonna run the very first stitch for the placement stitch. My placement stitch for the body is complete. So now grab your fabric piece for your front and have it facing right side up. And we are going to carefully place it over these stitches. And I have to make sure that I have enough fabric at the bottom for the very end where I'm going to close it. So I have about a half of a piece of fabric here. It's kind of cutting it close, but I want to conserve my fabric, so I don't want to waste this. I think I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to take it to the machine and do the tack down stitch. I am also going to switch out my thread to a pink that matches pretty closely to this fabric. Leave your hoop in the machine and run the next stitch. This is a placement stitch for the hair or the mane. Grab your hair piece or your mane piece and you're going to place it over the stitches just like so, making sure that it is covered completely. You will want the fabric to be right side facing up and take it over the machine for the tack down stitch. We are now going to cut around the applique, but we're going to leave the extra fabric up here. This is important for when we seal it or when we turn it inside out. We don't want any raw edges to come through. So we're just going to cut along these lines up to here. And we're just going to take our time on this step because this is thick fabric. It can be a little tricky when it's doing the satin stitches that will go around it if you're not close. So we want to be pretty close without ruining our stitches. I have closely cut around it and then I left extra fabric up here. It is now time to bring it to the embroidery machine and it's going to do the belly placement stitch. Placement stitch for the belly is completed. Now grab your belly piece and place it over the placement stitches right side facing up with extra fabric at the bottom. So that actually looks pretty good. Take it to the machine and run the tack down stitch. It is time to cut around the design, the applique. We are of course going to keep this extra fabric intact. So what I'm going to do is just do a slight little stitch like that, or cut, excuse me, and a cut like that. Okay, just make sure I didn't do that. And I'm going to take my applique scissors and cut around it as close as possible. We have one more applique to do, and that is for the nose right here. So I'm going to bring it to the machine for the placement stitch. Grab your last applique piece and right side facing up, cover the nose placement stitches. And hold it down while you take it to the machine for the tack down stitch. For this last applique,
you are going to cut completely around it. There should be no excess fabric like what we have up here or down here. It is time to sew the fine details, but before we do that, we are going to cover this fabric, this messy fabric, with some washable, water-soluble stabilizer. So I'm just going to cover the entire design just like so, and then I am going to tape it down. I'm going to take it to the machine and put it in. It's going to do the hair first, and I'm changing my thread to this color to match as closely as possible to the hair. The sand stitch around the mane is all done. So now I am changing my thread from this blue to a white to match the nose. And now it's going to do a sand stitch around the nose. The nose is all done. Now it's going to do a sand stitch around the belly. I'm going to keep the white in for this sand stitch. The next stitch is going to be the eyes and also the nostrils. So I'm going to switch my thread to black. This next step is, of course, completely optional and is not included with your purchase, but it is the idea of personalizing it in the belly. So I'm going to write the name Melly right here. And I think to balance it out, I'm going to use this blue thread again. My personalization is all done. So I'm actually going to take off this water-soluble stabilizer. All right. Looks good. Looks real good. All right. Now I'm on to the next step, which is the placement stitches for the ears. I'm gonna put it back at my hoop back in the machine, and it's gonna do a placement stitch right here, a placement stitch up here, and a placement stitch right here, so I know where to put the ears and the horn. Let's talk about placing the ears. So the first thing you need to know is this side is the inside, so it needs to face down. And this is called the raw edges. And anything that is not stitched has to be like, right here you see this is a raw edge. That needs to all be outside of that final tack down stitch, which is the body shape. I am going to do something a little different with this one, and I'm actually going to fold it just a little bit like that to give it a little shape, a little dimension. And then I'm going to use the needle as my guide. It is actually the center. So I'm just going to place it under just like that. And I'm just going to make sure that looks good. Like I said, I'm just going to use that needle to help guide me. And I'm just gonna flip it over like this, and that actually looks really cute. Okay, so now I'm gonna push it down and run the needle. It is time now to do the horn, and this is the front, the one with the design. It's a little dark. So that has to be facing down. This is the raw edge, and so that has to be outside of the final tack down stitch. So I'm just gonna use this as a guide, the needle again as a guide because it is the center. And I'm just gonna see, I'm gonna eyeball it. I'm like, is it straight? I think it is. So now we're gonna go down and run this stitch. We are going to do the same thing as we did this ear. I am going to fold it in, so just a little bit like this, kind of fold it in half, making sure that my outer ear is facing up. Here comes the raw edges. I'm going to make sure that they are placed outside of the stitches, and I'm going to match it up with as much as I can. I'm not 100% happy with how my ears turned out, so I'm going to see if I can rectify it by putting some, I'm basically squeezed it together here, put some needles through it on both sides, but I made it sure that it's far enough where the needle will not, my embroidery needle won't hit the other needle because it's going to sew right here again, okay? And then you need to grab your final piece, and you need to have wrong side up. And I'm gonna give this a good push down. And it's going to start up here in the middle. And it will do a single stitch down all the way down to here. Then it will do a bean stitch all the way up to here, single stitch, bean stitch. When you're at the top, you need to have your needle raised because that's a lot of bulk. So I'm probably gonna raise it to 7.5 until I get to right here, and then I will decrease my needle height to probably 3.5 or 4. All right, let's get this done. This is the last stitch. It did the final stitch, and as you can see, I got real close to the top here. So I always recommend you having way more fabric than you need because you for sure need extra fabric down here, but it does shift, especially around the ears and the horn. That's why if you have extra fabric here, like I did, I had it up to about maybe right here, and when it shifted in the machine, it still was able to catch it so that it did not become a problem for me. So now we are gonna remove our design from the hoop. And tear away the stabilizer on just the outside. Grab your sharp scissors and focus on the gap at the bottom. So there is the hole where we will turn the project inside out, but we need to first cut around the design. And we need to have extra fabric down here. So what I'm gonna do is, to remind myself not to cut this fabric off, I'm gonna cut a diagonal right here and a diagonal right here. And then I am gonna save this fabric for when I close it. And now I am going to cut around it very carefully. We have cut around it, so we have to remove all this tearaway stabilizer. Here comes the moment of truth. To see how well we did, we need to turn it inside out. Be careful, because I have those. If you put needles in there, you want to definitely be careful, and you would definitely want to take those out. You do not want some poor child to get those needles stuck in or their fingers pricked. So I'm gonna put those to the side. All right, oh, super cute. All right, now I have to fill it. All right, so I have some of my filling right here, and I'm just gonna slowly fill it up to however firm I like it, and I like mine pretty firm, so I'm gonna actually do a lot, so it will take me a while. So once I'm done, I will show you how I am gonna close this. Okay, I filled it up to my satisfaction, and I am going to close it with fabric glue, which is permanent. So here's all the stuffing. I'm gonna look for that hole. I'm gonna make sure all the raw edges are folded in. I'm gonna look for that one little line right here, and that's gonna be kind of my guide. I'm gonna start on one side, and I'm just gonna try to pair them up evenly. I'm gonna get a wonder clip and just snip it like, or not snip it, I'm sorry. Clip it. That's what I was looking for. Okay. I'm gonna do 3 wonder clips. Just like that. And then I'm going to close it with the glue. If you don't want to use glue, you can definitely hand sew it as well. And then I will distribute I'll press it a little bit to distribute the stuffing. Let's see how well I did at closing it. Oops, got a little there. All right. Looks like it closed completely. Thanks for watching. This design is free on my Patreon. Check the link below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more creative fun.